And we are now recording, which is great. And as you can see, I'm at home for this Q&A. Let me just clean my camera. I really hate having a dirty camera. Yeah, just 1 second. Oh, ta-da! There we are. Now in full view. I got my Botox done on Monday and it's only settling now. And I'm like, I just had this one weird line across my forehead. It's like settling at the minute. Hopefully it's all going to go within the next couple of days. Don't like having a wrinkly forehead. Okay, let's get started with the questions. Okay, Laurie has asked a really long question here, so I'm just going to scan through it really quickly. She says, I'm familiar with BPC 157, as my son used to use it. I'm hearing a lot about NAD, which is, I can never remember the first part of it. Not that it really matters, actually, what it stands for, but it's like, oh my God, it's just completely... It's adenine dinucleotide is the second two parts. Nicotinamide. That's it. I was like, oh my God, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide is what it stands for. She's asking for my thoughts on it. So let's just talk a wee bit about NAD. So NAD is a coenzyme. It's not a peptide. It's a coenzyme, which is slightly different to a peptide. I don't know an enormous about it yet in terms of the science behind it, I have to be honest. But the one thing that I do know about it is that it is supposed to be phenomenal for muscle repair. So BPC 157 is really good for tendon repair, tendon ligaments, that kind of stuff. It's basically BPC 157 is a peptide, and a peptide is a short chain amino acid, which basically means when your body just groups together proteins into short chains, which are peptides, and then it groups together the peptides, and that's what forms amino acids. And every single part of your body is made up of amino acids. So that's really all a peptide is. So if you're talking about Ozempic or Wegovy or Mounjaro or any of those weight loss medications, the GLP-1s, they're basically just peptides. So glucagon-like peptides that your body makes naturally anyway, same as the coenzymes. So the thing about peptides and coenzymes and all of this new medication that's coming out, the problem is it's not medication because they're not used to treat or mask a symptom. But these kind of new wonder drugs that are appearing on the market, they really are, their main purpose is for healing. It's tissue healing, repair, and regeneration is what they're being used for. So I started NAD 2 days ago. I actually haven't taken my dose today. I started it in injectable formats. There's different ways you can take these peptides and coenzymes. You can take them in oral format, which means that they have to make a pass through the stomach and through the liver in order to get into the bloodstream, because anything that's absorbed through the intestinal tract goes into the bloodstream first, then it passes through the liver, immediately to the liver, and then it's released into the bloodstream before it even gets to the tissue. So it's not as an efficient way of taking the peptides or the coenzymes. But if you inject them either subcutaneously or intramuscularly, so subcutaneously basically means you pinch a big bit of fat, say on your belly, and you put it into the fat on your belly. That has a slightly slower absorption rate. If you put them straight into the muscle, say in your upper arm or somewhere, then that is actually a slightly faster absorption. If you were to go straight into a vein, obviously, then that's going to be even faster again. So I started injecting NAD 2 days ago. Funny thing happened that night. It was a very warm night in Belfast, but I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I honestly thought I was going to die with the heat. I was like, oh my God, I had to get up and open. The windows were open anyway. I had to open more windows and doors and try to get like an airflow through. And one of the side effects of it is what they call flushing, which basically means that you get warm. And I definitely did get warm. And I did notice on Sunday as well that my appetite was slightly decreased. That only lasted 1 day. I'm now like ravenously hungry today. So yeah, so that's what happened there. I have no data so far on whether what benefits I'm going to feel from it. I think a lot of the times people say to me, what benefits did you feel from this? Or what benefits did you feel from that? I don't take a lot of the things that I take to feel benefits. People always ask me as well about going vegan. They say, oh, whenever you went vegan, did you notice like a massive difference in your hair and your nails and your skin and your energy levels? And I'm like, no. And they're like, really? I'm like, no. Like, did you not notice like your nails were stronger? No. Like your sleep was better? No. They want you to say, oh my God, yeah. When I went vegan, my life was transformed, my body was transformed, my health was transformed. I'm like, yeah, no, didn't happen. And so I think that a lot of times we can make a lot of shit up, honestly, to suit, it's called cognitive dissonance. After we've made a decision, we look for signs that the decision we've made is the right one, and then we retrofit things that have happened into that decision. So I'm very careful not to do that. I'm very careful to just go with the data. Uh, I did notice after I started the GLP-1s, so I started on Ozempic. I'm now moving over to Mounjaro, which is a double agonist, GLP-1 and GIP it works on. And but then I've also ordered another one called retatrutide, which is a triple agonist, which also works on glucagon. So it's actually a muscle protectant as well as an insulin regulator. So why am I telling you all this? NAD, haven't noticed any difference. It's only been 2 days. I'm not sure what difference I'm going to be noticing because the GLP-1s have completely sorted out my hip pain, zero hip pain now from the GLPs. They've completely sorted out my sleep. They have sorted out my digestion. I get no bloating. I can eat beans, lentils, vegetables. It is insane how much they have completely sorted out my digestion. It has transformed. And that was one of the worst things that happened in menopause was me not, being reactive to a lot of different foods. So I don't know. I haven't noticed anything about the NAD, and I'm starting BPC 157 as well. I'm gonna take those. The NAD I'm on for 5 weeks. The BPC, I'm not sure how long I'll be on that one for, but if I notice any markable differences in my recovery or my any other data, I will let you know. The good thing about me is I measure everything. I measure my sleep, I measure my temperature, I measure my cycle, I measure my steps. My food is very, very consistent. My calories are consistent. My exercise is consistent. My sleep is consistent. My energy is consistent. So whenever you keep everything consistent, it makes it very easy to measure small changes. A lot of times people don't keep things consistent. They're all over the place with their calories. They're not consistent with their exercise. They're not consistent with the time they go to bed and the time they get up. And so they find it very hard to notice micro changes. But because everything in my life is consistent, I notice micro changes very quickly. So I'll be able to report back what those changes are whenever I feel them. So that's all I can tell you about NAD. I don't have any real other information to give you simply because these peptides and enzymes and these new therapies are so new on the mass market that there's really not a lot of research and data about them. But I'm using myself as a human guinea pig, and you will all benefit from the research. Right, what else have we got? Lisa S. Hi, Kim. Did the magnets you wear help with frozen shoulder? Mine's getting worse, so I'm looking at options. A couple of people have responded to you, Lisa. Jessica has said, I've been wearing the ankle magnet for a month or so now, and my shoulder pain went away. I'm easily snatching 10 kilograms. And Sam was saying they worked on her horse. So here's the thing about the magnet. So for those of you who, I'll put it here in the chat, for those of you who haven't used the magnets, so this is these magnets are phenomenal for any kind of pain you have in your body. We use them on our horses, but there's also ones for humans. We use them. I wear one on my ankle. My daughter wears one on her ankle. She was sitting there a minute ago, which is why I was pointing. She also wears a bracelet. My mum wears a bracelet. My whole family is wearing these magnets because they are genuinely life-changing. When you're wearing them, you don't have any pain. So when I wasn't taking the GLP-1s, I was in constant agonizing pain. Whenever I was wearing the magnet, I wore it 24 hours a day. It looked like I was wearing an ankle bracelet from prison, or like an ankle monitor from prison, because it's quite a thick black pad. Whenever I had it on my ankle, zero pain, like zero pain while I was wearing it. And if I had it off for about 3 or 4 hours, the pain kind of started to come back a little bit. But when I was wearing it, zero pain. So anyone who's worn one for frozen shoulder has said that yes, the pain in the frozen shoulder literally goes away. I have never had frozen shoulder or had any shoulder issues, so I don't have any evidence for that. I don't have any personal experience, but I do have personal experience with the ankles, with my ankle and with my hip pain, and it has been unbelievable. I gave one to my sister for my nephew because he has had really bad back pain recently. He started wearing one on his ankle. She messaged me the other day. She was like, "What is this voodoo magic? The pain in Harry's back is completely gone." So the bigger the surface area, the bigger the magnet. You can wear one on each ankle if you want, but one seems to be fine. Um, so yeah, definitely try them. They're not expensive and they really do work. They're absolutely amazing. And the link is there with a 10% discount. If you're in Australia, the discount doesn't apply, unfortunately, but you can write to them and just say, would you be willing to honor this discount? I'm part of Kim Constable's community and they will give you the discount. I don't unfortunately get a commission if you buy it in Australia, but that's okay. I don't need to profit off you guys. I do get a commission if you use that link there. Although I haven't actually had any money from them yet. I don't think it's a lot, but anyway, it's there. Okay, Laurie Fangman is asking, what is your take on women using creatine and or taurine? So creatine, it's so funny. Creatine has really kind of exploded onto the market recently, but I have to be 100% honest and say it is not a supplement that I am very well researched on. I know that it, on a very basic level, it draws water into the muscle, so it makes your body retain more water, which a lot of women don't like. So it does, it makes your muscles retain more water. And when your muscle is fuller and more plump, then it can basically perform better and recover better. That's really the very basic science behind it. Performs better in the gym, recovers better after the gym whenever you are holding water in the muscle. Um, I know there's more research recently about it helping with brain health and different things in women. I haven't gone into that research because honestly, it isn't a supplement that I have used for a long time. I used it way back in my early bodybuilding days in 2018 because my trainer told me to. But and I just took L-glutamine. I took L-glutamine, L-leucine, creatine. What else did I take? Glutamine, leucine, creatine. I think that was it. Those are the three things that I used to put in my shake, and Vitargo. So I used to take Vitargo post-workout. So those are the supplements that I routinely took. Glutamine for gut health and creatine for muscle building, and leucine is the L-leucine is the most important of the amino acids for muscle building and repair. So those are the ones that I took. I stopped taking creatine, I think in about 2018, 2019, and I haven't taken it since. Now, would I feel better if I took it? Maybe, I don't know, but I'm kind of like a walking pillbox at the minute between my HRT and my vitamin B12, my magnesium and my digestive, or not digestive enzymes, what do you call them? My probiotics and my vaginal estrogen and my testosterone and my Ozempic and my NAD and my BPC 157. I was like, I have this basket in my bedroom. Oh, here, let me just close that. I have this basket in my bedroom which has all my supplements in it, and it always reminds me of my granny. Because when my granny was young, when I was younger, my granny, she used to like have her pill box in the morning. She'd say, "Grandma, why do you have so many pills? Why do you need?" And she used to be like, "Oh dear, when you get to my age, you need a lot of pills." And I remember looking at it and thinking, "Why does one person need so many pills?" But now I understand why an older woman needs a lot of pills, because I need a lot of pills. So I'm going to be honest and say creatine isn't something I've ever routinely taken. I don't intend to take it, and honestly, I'm just going to be really upfront and say that usually when the masses run towards something, I run in the opposite direction. And so at the minute, everyone's like, oh, creatine, 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 creatine. And I'm like, I don't see a lot of jacked women walking around from taking all this creatine. And I know that there's, people are saying it's really good for women in menopause. And I'm kind of like, I don't know. I haven't seen the science. I would need to see the studies. I would need to see the science. I would need to dive into it a little bit deeper, rather than just, I think that a lot of people are taking creatine because it's all over TikTok and it's all over Instagram and everyone's talking about it. And so everybody thinks, oh, this is something I should be doing. I never jump on a fad. I always go and read the science and read the research and read the papers and read the studies. And then I make a decision. I haven't done that with creatine, but I do get asked about it a lot. So I will go and read the science and then I will interpret the data and I will feed it back to you possibly next week. I promise. But at the minute, I can't really give you any more than that. It's not something I take. It's not something I've taken in a long time. I haven't noticed any, well, I'm saying I haven't noticed any downsides from not taking it, but who knows? Like I'm a walking disaster. So maybe if I took creatine, I would be less than a walking disaster. Who knows? But I will look at the science and I will come back to you on it. Taurine, know nothing about taurine. It's not something I've ever taken, not something I've ever studied. Taurine, I mean, it's a stimulant as far as I know, but that's really all I know about it. I'm sorry. I know a lot of things. I'm like the oracle, but there's a lot of stuff I don't know too. So I apologize. Sheila Emery, hi Kim, I'm loving the app and the workouts. Yay. I'm not loving losing expensive fat in my face. There has to be a way that I can get rid of the fat in my body and not have it come off my face. Please advise. I've stopped doing cardio until I hear from someone about this situation. That is so funny. Sheila, unfortunately, you cannot choose where you lose body fat from. That's just the bottom line. My dad always used to joke when I was younger, and he used to say, there comes a time when a woman has to choose between her butt and her face. And it's so true, because if you have a fat ass, then you have a fat face, and then you've no wrinkles. And if you don't have a fat ass, then you don't have a fat face, and you have very lots and lots of wrinkles, a lot of wrinkles. So, yeah, unfortunately, that is just how it works. With women. You cannot spot reduce fat. Your body will burn fat from the soles of your feet, from your face, from, very annoyingly on women, it tends to burn it from the top down. So we tend to lose, which is nice. We get nice arms, but we tend to lose fat on our chest before we ever lose it on our belly or our lower body. Why is this? Because the fat from your belly button down to your knees is very metabolically active. The fat around your middle is very metabolically active, which means that it can be broken down to produce hormones. It stores hormones, but it also can be made into hormones. So the fat around your middle is metabolically active and can be made into estrone, a much weaker form of estrogen. And it's the same. Well, the fat around your thighs and your buttocks is very good for generating heat, generating energy. So you have a lot of brown adipose tissue in that area as well. And so the reason why that's important for women is, well, none of us are having babies now, but whenever we were having babies, that fat can actually, it's been proven, can be broken down very quickly to generate breast milk, actually, whenever it's needed. So that's why women tend to carry fat in these areas, because of our hormonal production and because of our nurture production. So unfortunately, yes, you're going to lose it in your face. Like, it's called bodybuilder face. See everyone walking around at the minute talking about Ozempic face. Ozempic face is not a thing. Ozempic does not change the shape of your face, FYI. It doesn't change your bone structure. It doesn't change anything to do with your face. It's just that people lose body fat and they lose it from their face. And so their face looks different. And if they have had a lot of fillers, if they're celebrities like Sharon Osbourne, and they've had a lot of fillers or surgery in the past, then what you're going to see is the shape of the face, which is defined by the fillers and the surgery. So it just, I was going to say, it drives me mad how ignorant people are, and I don't mean that. And then I thought, well, maybe some people here might have thought that Ozempic can change your face, because here's the thing: we're bombarded with this information on the media, and they're like, Ozempic face, and you hear it enough times, and you think, oh, well, there must be something in Ozempic which changes the shape of your face. It does not. A GLP-1 cannot change the shape of your face in any way. But what happens, like I said, is you lose body fat. That's what happens with bodybuilders. Whenever I was bodybuilding, before I would have gotten any facial work done, I would have had these veins running in rivers. And you can actually see, I'm quite lean now. You can see this line here. So I have this line because I'm very lean, and I get these veins running in rivers down my temples before I got temple filler. And the whole shape of your face changes. Like, you look sunken and gaunt and just completely different whenever you get down to low levels of body fat. So that's what's happening. People are losing, people, who were used to seeing heavier and with more body fat, and so therefore they have a different shaped face, are losing a lot of body fat, and their face looks different. And so people then are calling it Ozempic face, as if like Ozempic is somehow causing it. It's not. It's just a lack of body fat. So you cannot spot reduce fat, unfortunately. What I would suggest for anyone who wants to keep a nice, full, plump face is invest in some fillers. I have cheek filler, chin filler. I have Botox all over my entire face. I have people always say, have you ever had this? You had that? I'm like, I've had every single part of my face filled. I've had my lips filled, my temples filled, my chin filled, my nose filled, my cheeks filled. I've had Botox everywhere. I've had all kinds of laser treatments and stuff injected into me and whatever. And that's why whenever I'm super lean, I don't really look that different, because my face has been filled out with fillers. Now, you may not be that type. You might be like, I will age naturally, thank you. And good for you. If you are the kind of woman who can age naturally, then I take my hat off to you, because I am not. So I'm going to get all the fillers and all the Botox and all the injections, and I'm just going to look my very best that I can possibly look. I'm going to, like, literally, you're going to have to wrench me into old age. I will not go there gracefully, just FYI. So yeah, short answer is no. Your face is going to go. Find a good injector would be my advice. Right, what else have we got going on? Okay, I'm really excited to answer this one, because this has been something that's been coming up a long time, and I did a little bit more research into it because people keep asking. So someone is asking, Laura is asking, what are your thoughts on this weighted vest for menopause? It seems to be a thing lately here in the US. Okay, so I was initially very like, what the fuck is everybody wearing a weighted vest for? Because I thought what people were promoting it for was muscle building. And I'm like, walking around wearing a weighted vest is not going to make any difference to your muscle tone whatsoever. And I still stand by that. But began to look into it a little more. And I thought, okay, what is the science behind the weighted vest? Because I don't think a lot of people are explaining the science very well. So here's the thing about a weighted vest. Whenever you are heavier, it's actually easier for you to burn body fat. Have you ever seen the women in our shreds and, or maybe it was you, and they're quite heavy. And I'm just going to close this door, by the way, because there's a lot of people coming in and out, and I forgot to close the door. So you see these people who are quite heavy. They're maybe a couple of 100 pounds, and they do like a 4-week shred or a 6-week shred, and they lose an insane amount of body fat. And maybe you, who only has like 20 pounds to lose, doesn't lose anywhere near the same amount of body fat. And it just seems grossly unfair, doesn't it? That like the really heavy women lose a lot of body fat. Well, here's why, which I always knew anyway, but here's how it relates to a bit of weighted vest. Whenever you're heavier, your cardiovascular load is greater because you're carrying around a lot more weight. So if you take up a walking persistency where you're going to go walking for 30 minutes a day, or let's say you're going to be doing one of my cardio workouts for 30 minutes a day, you are carrying a lot more weight on your body. And so the exertion on your heart is bigger. So your heart has to pump harder has to work harder to move your body. So you get a greater calorie burn. As the weight comes off, the calorie burn isn't as great because you're not carrying as much weight. So that's why people who are much heavier and start to do cardio lose weight very, very quickly because they are carrying a lot of extra weight cardiovascularly. So the weighted vest, there's a theory that you should actually, in order to keep your calorie burn high whenever you're dieting, for every pound you lose on the scale, you should add another pound onto your weighted vest. So let's say you lose 5 pounds. Well, you should actually put on a 5-pound weighted vest to, make up that 5 pounds that you lost. And if you then lose 6, you should add another pound, 7, another pound, 8, another pound, 9, another pound. So you keep adding a pound for every pound of body fat lost. Now, let's say you lost 200 pounds. Well, you're not going to carry around a 200-pound weighted vest, right? Within reason. But the study was done on very, very lean people, bodybuilders wanting to lose body fat for a competition. And they showed that if you kept adding a pound for every pound lost, your body would burn fat faster. So you know how whenever in our shred programs, for those of you who've done the shreds in the past, you know how we gradually increase the cardio and gradually decrease the calories? That's to create a greater metabolic burden for the body. So you have to keep increasing your cardio and decreasing your calories to keep putting more and more and more exertion on the body. So if you kept your calories consistent and kept your cardio consistent, yes, you would lose body fat, but you wouldn't be able to get dialed in to the way you need to be if you were going to stand on stage as a bodybuilder. The only way to get absolutely dialed in and get down to single-digit body fat percentages is to gradually increase the cardio and gradually decrease the calories. So using a weighted vest does actually quite a similar thing. So there is a hypothesis that you wouldn't even need to increase the amount of cardio you did if you just added weight to your weighted vest every week. So let's say hypothetically you started on 30 minutes cardio. Rather than increasing to 35 or 40 or 45 or 50 minutes, if you added a pound every week, so let's say your diet was 24 weeks long. If you added a pound a week to your diet, or let's say it was even only 12 weeks, let's say you added then 2 pounds a week, which would be 24 pounds, which would be about 10 kilos. So let's say you started on 30 minutes, and then week 1, you added 2 pounds to your weighted vest, and then week 2, another 2 pounds, week 3, another 2 pounds. So you would be up to, after 12 weeks, you would be up to about 24 pounds, which is just over 10 kilos. You'd be carrying 12 kilos on your back. hypothetically, you could do that and not increase the time that you would need to do your cardio for, because you would be increasing the metabolic burn in your body by adding more load. So that's what weighted vests are for. They are to add more weight to your body cardiovascularly so it burns more fat. Now, there's some people are saying it keeps your bones stronger. You could say that it would, but the effect on the bones is going to be very minor, because what keeps bones stronger is whenever you are doing resistance training, when you're training in the gym or doing training with dumbbells, any kind of resistance training causes the muscles and the tendons to pull on the bones. The muscles and tendons and the joints, they all pull, on the bones, which then causes the bones to strengthen, make more bone marrow, and to just strengthen the bone cells. So carrying around a weighted vest could potentially make your bones stronger. It certainly isn't going to do them any harm, but it's not why I would be wearing a weighted vest. I would much rather do resistance training to make my bones stronger and take estrogen. But if you weren't able to take estrogen for whatever reason, and you wore a weighted vest when you were doing your cardio and you did resistance training, then you're probably going to get a greater bone density, and you're definitely going to get a higher metabolic burn. So wearing a weighted vest is not for building muscle, just FYI, okay? Because if you could build muscle just from putting an extra load on your back, everyone who was very overweight would be, once they lost the weight, they would be completely shredded underneath it, right? They would have massive Mark Getty style legs. And that doesn't happen. So wearing a weighted vest is not going to help you to build muscle, but it is going to give you a greater calorie burn. I'll tell you a really funny story about that. So my husband, he loves the fitness fads, and I go in the opposite direction of the fitness fads, but he's a bit fitness fatty sometimes, although he would never admit it. And so he bought a weighted vest, and he bought a 10 kilo one, which is 22 pounds. And so he decided he was going to wear this weighted vest on his morning walk. And we would do a walk in the morning that's about just about exactly 60 minutes long. And it's a big loop, right? And in the very middle of the walk, you walk a full mile up quite a steep hill. It's at it's our Parliament buildings here called Stormont, and the Stormont Hill is just a big, steep, steady incline all the way up to the front gates of Stormont. And it's 1 mile long. He messages me halfway around his walk. So he's 30 minutes from home, 30 minutes right in the middle. He's 30 minutes there, and he's 30 minutes back. He messages me and he's like, "Holy sweet mother of God." What? And he said, "This vest." He's like, "It is." He said, "I'm absolutely and utterly destroyed." He said, "It was fine for like the first 15 or 20 minutes." He said, "But I am absolutely destroyed. It's like carrying a toddler on your back the entire way, like a very heavy toddler." Well, not very heavy, 22 pounds. But he was like, "But the problem is," he said, I'm halfway from home, and I'm halfway home again. So it's not even like I can turning back. He didn't really realize just how tough it was until he was halfway round. So turning back wouldn't have made any difference, because it was the same distance back as it was just to walk on. And he said, "I can't even get a taxi because I'm in the middle of Stormont, which is a massive big park. So I still have to walk all the way up and out." I was in absolute stitches. So I think he managed to make it home with the vest on. He said the problem was he couldn't even take it off, because if he took it off, he was going to have to carry it in front of him, which was almost going to be even worse than just wearing it on his person. We had to walk the whole way home with the weighted vest. He never wore the weighted vest again. Never went on him ever again. He was like, "Fuck that, not worth it." It was like the earplugs that he bought that he wore for like 5 minutes one night, decided they were too uncomfortable and threw them out. Oh, I laughed at the weighted vest. So if you want a greater calorie burn, you can absolutely stick one on. I can't imagine where or when I would wear a weighted vest. I'm certainly not going to wear one around doing, my daily life during the day. If you were doing walking and you wanted to wear it, you're definitely going to get a bigger calorie burn if your goal is to lose body fat. Other than that, if you just keep up your resistance training, which is what you guys are doing in this program, then, or in all my programs, then I don't think you're going to need one. But definitely they won't do you any harm, is my answer. Karen Hudson is saying, "Tell me about the leaderboard. How are points earned?" Karen, I know nothing about the app. I don't know how points are earned in the leaderboard. People ask me technical questions all the time. I'm like, I'm just the ideas girl, right? I just come up with the ideas. I just film the content. See all that technical stuff. Laura does all that. And then Corey, my son, works in the company as well. If you ever email customer service and you get Corey, he's my son. So Corey now looks after all the tech side of the app and all that leaderboard stuff. I have no idea. I know you get points for logging, for checking off. Well, okay, I'm gonna be, this is probably completely wrong, but I think you get points for checking off habits. Every time you check off, you log a meal. Every time you log a workout. I don't think you get them for commenting or posting anymore in the community. I think you used to get points for every time you post, or maybe you get them for posting but not for commenting. But I think a lot of people were kind of hacking the algorithm and just like commenting on everything and then shooting them up the leaderboard. So I think we removed that option. But I'm pretty sure it's only for logging and tracking you get it. So every time you log and track something, you get a point. I will ask Laura, and I don't know whether Laura's here today or not. I think I saw her earlier, but she must have her camera off. So I will ask Laura to make it clear what the points are for, so that you can all know what you get points for, and then you can try and rocket up the leaderboard, because I know that it is hard to get on the leaderboard. So yeah, I'll find out for you. Lisa asks, can you send the link to the heel wedges you use, please? I will certainly do that right now, and I will post it here in the chat, although I don't know if Lisa is here, but I will show you the ones, or actually I'll post it in the app, heel wedge for squats. So they're really, really cheap. Like this is them here, the ones that I use. Squat, wedge. I don't know, that's probably back to front now. I don't know whether you can see it. Squat, wedge, ramp, non-slip yoga. So let me click on this. For those of you that are here, I will post the link here. Really interesting. Did you know that if you probably did know this. I've known this for a long time. A lot of people don't know. If you copy something on your iPhone, it will just paste over onto your Mac. So I just copied it here and then just pasted it, did Command V and just pasted it there into the chat. So those are the ones that I use. They're like 17 quid, really cheap. I'm sure you can get the same ones in America, but they're great. They really are great. But they're just like super cheap. Any heel wedges are completely fine. There's a question here from Tammy. There's actually quite a few questions here. So let me grab a couple from the chat actually to make sure that I get to them. I'll go from the bottom up. Kel is saying, I am terrible at logging my food. Yeah, I know. It is hard to get to remember to log them. Tammy is asking, did I hear you correctly in a recent Zoom call that women in perimenopause require 200 less calories due to a slower metabolism? It could have been a point made for menopause, but I could not remember which Zoom call it was. If this is correct, does that mean I should be eating 200 calories under my TDEE in perimenopause to continue to build muscle and maintain my weight? So that's what the science is showing. So the data was done, the research was done by the government in New Zealand. Okay, so there was the government in New Zealand were actually doing a lot of research into a supplement called CaloCurb, CALOCURB, which is a natural supplement which mimics, or I don't think it mimics actually, I think it boosts GLP-1 production in the body. So they were trying to find an alternative for Ozempic, Mounjaro, Wegovy, tirzepatide, those kinds of things. They were trying to find an alternative for them that wasn't an injectable. And so the New Zealand government funded a lot of this research into this supplement called CaloCurb, and then they developed it and they sold it. And apparently it does help to curb your appetite. But what came out of the research whenever they were studying the women was that in perimenopause and menopause, I don't know what age though, I can't say from age 40 or from age 45, but because I don't know where the study is now that I was reading that they did, but it showed that women in, let's say women in menopause, let's go generic, over the age of 45. Women over the age of 45 need to eat 200 less calories per day in order to maintain their current body composition. This is, they found, because of insulin sensitivity within the muscle cells, and also due to sarcopenia, which is the natural muscle loss that occurs in menopause, in perimenopause and menopause. So I don't think these studies were done on metabolically optimized women such as yourselves. So women who are actively strength training, actively eating good diets, actively doing cardio, so I guess, everyone here is certainly working towards being very metabolically optimized. And I don't know that the studies were done in kind of the gold standard of studies with a specific cohort of women with a placebo and all that kind of stuff, but they did hypothesize with data that you need to eat 200 less calories. So I guess though, in order for you to know for yourself, and this is why it's so important that you maintain consistency. I have been tracking my calories for so long that I now know that I have to eat less calories to maintain what I could have maintained 10 years ago on more calories. So my daily maintenance calories at the minute, okay, is 1,600 calories, 1,600 calories. That's all I am eating every day. Now, those are my tracked calories. I do have extra calories such as alcohol frequently. I don't track my calories on the weekend, so I will have food that is not tracked on the weekend. In fact, I very rarely track my calories on the weekend, but during the week, Monday to Friday, I eat 5 times a day and I have 1,600 tracked calories. I don't track green cruciferous vegetables or salad vegetables. I will have extra fruit at the minute because it's fruit season here in Belfast. I don't track those calories. So you could probably say that I would average over a 7-day period 1,800 calories a day, 1,800 calories a day. And I am a super fit, super muscular, metabolically optimized perimenopausal woman. I could have eaten easily 2,200 calories, a few years ago and not maintained my current body shape. Now, as a side note, I am leaner now than I ever normally maintain. I'm super lean at the minute. I'm probably about 15% body fat, I would say, but 14% body fat maybe at the minute. And I don't normally maintain a 14% body fat. I normally maintain about 17% body fat. So whenever I was on, say, 2,000 calories or 2,200 calories, I would have maintained a 17% body fat. I'm now maintaining a 14% body fat roughly on, say, 1,800 calories. But I haven't put on any weight and I haven't lost any more weight. So 1,800 calories is now maintaining for me what 2,000 calories or 2,200 calories used to maintain. So yes, I would say it is true. But that's why it's so important for you to measure your own calories. Whenever you measure and track your own calories and you do it for a long time, you will know that, okay, I'm eating X amount of calories per day. I've been doing this for a long period of time and I haven't put on any body fat. And you will be able to track that. So then you go, oh, well, look at that. I had some extra treats. I had some extra calories. I had some extra whatever. I had some alcohol. Look, I started to put on a little bit of body fat. So the sweet spot for me is these amount of calories. But what happens if I go 200 below these calories? What happens? So you'd maybe do that for like 8 to 10 weeks. And you're like, oh, wow. Or even 4 weeks. If I go 200 below those calories, look, I lost body fat in 4 weeks. So a lot of people come to me and they want answers. They come to me and they say, Kim, just tell me how many calories I need to eat. Tell me how much cardio I need to do. Tell me how much this. But honestly, the reason why a lot of people ask me that is because they're just not willing to put in the consistent work every single day that it takes for them to get to know their own body. I can tell you what works for me. I can tell you what works for thousands of women that I coach. I can tell you the data that I see, but it's very hard for me to advise someone who hasn't had consistent data for a long time. And you guys would be, every single person watching this, every single person here has the ability to be able to do what I do. If you were just willing to track, if you were just willing to stay consistent on a strength training plan, stay consistent on a cardio plan, stay consistent on a calorie and macro plan, track your macros every day. If you were willing to do that for a long period of time, you wouldn't need my assistance because you would know when I do this, this happens. When I do this, this happens. When I change this, this happens. The problem with most people is they're just not willing to remain consistent over a long period of time. And so they end up kind of floundering and looking to me for answers, which is very hard for me to give them because, I obviously don't know what the consistency is. A lot of us do have consistency. We just have consistency in the wrong areas. Like we consistently overeat and we consistently under exercise. So you do have a lot of data. You can say, wow, whenever I eat a lot of shit and I don't exercise, I consistently remain my earplug, sorry. Or what's it called? Not my earplug, my earbud. You can say whenever I do all these really bad things, I consistently remain 30 pounds overweight. Go me. So you do have a lot of consistency, probably you just have it in the wrong direction. But if you consistently started tracking everything, not with the goal to losing body fat or to getting really shredded, but just out of interest, you would be able to make tweaks and changes to affect your body in the long term. But yes, just to go back to the question, it is true that you need to eat 200 less calories every day in order to maintain what you used to be able to maintain years ago on 200 more calories. So to answer your question, should you go 200 below what you're currently eating? Well, you know what my answer to that's going to be. And my answer is going to be, well, what's your goal? What goal are you currently working towards? And have you been tracking your calories for a consistent period of time towards that goal? And if you're like, well, yeah, I've been eating 1,800 calories a day for 12 weeks or 20 weeks or 6 months, training 4 times a week, doing cardio 3 times a week, and I'm getting fatter, then I'd be like, okay, well then yeah, the data would suggest that you're eating too many calories, so cut back 200. But if you haven't been consistently tracking for a long period of time, then you're kind of just pissing into the wind, right? You don't know. You're saying, well, here's my TDEE, this is what the calculator's giving me, should I eat 200 less? Well, I don't know. Why not try eating at your TDE first and try doing that for a long period of time, at least 12 weeks, and see what happens, right? And then you'll know, okay, I added my TDE, I tracked everything, I was pretty consistent, and I put on body fat. Then you have your answer. Your answer is, yeah, you need to eat less calories, or maybe you miscalculated your TDE. See what I mean? A lot of us haven't done the work necessary, don't want to do the work. Honestly, we want the shortcuts. Listen, I'm not judging, right? I want the shortcuts too. But I've learned that there are none. There's no shortcuts ever to anything. There's just one big long fucking grind, one big long slug to get where you want to go. There's no shortcuts. Right. Let me see a few more questions here. Michelle, I've only lost 2 pounds. I'm so depressed. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. I was having such a fun last question. And my belly is not moving. Big muffin too, still the same. And we're almost done with the 4 weeks. Much work to do still. So, Michelle, then I have a question for you. The only way that someone, if you had followed the training, and you can be honest with me here in the comments, right? I want you to be honest with me here, Michelle. Oh, you've actually written another one here. Hang on. My weight is not moving, neither is my belly. On sculpt, well, for I have about 15 pounds to lose. My muffin top is not moving. Do I continue on the 1,200 calories, or do bunts and guns, start the higher calories and go down? I think 30 minutes cardio isn't cutting it, and I am working hard. It works with my schedule, but maybe stay with the 30 minutes will just take longer. Sweating like crazy and strength and cardio and staying in calories, although I haven't been very hungry, so maybe that isn't helping. Right, so Michelle, that was my next question. Oh, she says, okay, so forget my question. I need to stay consistent, which I finally have the ball rolling. Right. So that's what the first thing I was going to say was, honesty time with yourself. You don't even have to answer here. Just be really honest with yourself. Have you really pushed yourself to failure on all of the strength training workouts? And I'm not saying that it's bad if you haven't, by the way. Have you really gone the hardest you can go in the 30 minutes? I know you're saying you're sweating loads, but are you really taking the harder option every time you can? And have you been really consistent with the diet? Like, have you had no breaks, no cheats? You're tracking everything. You're absolutely 100% dialed in. Because if the answer is yes to all those three things, and you've only lost 2 pounds well, it's only been 3 weeks. If you have quite a lot to lose, I would have expected you to lose a little bit more. And so I don't want to call you a liar. But the reality is, right, that I have coached a lot of women over the years, Michelle, and the only way that someone doesn't get results is when they don't follow the program. And it's usually the eating plan. And whenever I question, they go, well, I've been eating the 1,200 calories, most of the time. And I say, well, what do you mean most of the time? Just like whenever I can. And then whenever they're really honest with themselves, it turns out that it's really only been about 50% of the time, 60% of the time. And quite often when someone admits to me that if someone says, be following at about 80%, that's usually 40%. So human beings always overestimate, just FYI. and exaggerate. And it's because we don't want to feel bad about ourselves, right? We want to believe that we did better than we did. And also we are doing so, here's what else happens. Now, this probably isn't you, Michelle, but this has happened so many times to people in the past. They're like, but you know what, Kim? And they admit to me afterwards, I was working so hard in the cardio, and it was the hardest thing that I've ever done. I was sweating loads, and I was lifting to failure, and I was working so hard with the exercise. I thought to myself, this is the hardest I've ever worked in my life. I don't really have to follow the full eating plan. Surely working this hard, the weight is just going to fall off. So they think that because they feel like they're working harder than they've ever worked in their lives, and they probably are, with the cardio and the training, they don't really follow the food plan because they think, well, this must be what gets the results because it feels so hard. But actually, just because it feels hard doesn't mean it is hard. Because let me just give you a little comparison for that. And this isn't you, by the way, this is other people I'm talking about. But I say to them, well, if the cardio and the training is so hard, why would you not have chosen to do the food plan? And they say, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, if the food plan was the easy part, why do the hard thing? So human beings always choose the easiest path. So even though the cardio and the training was hard, denying themselves the food that they love to eat was harder. So doing the cardio and the workouts is almost easy, and it makes you feel like you're actually doing something, because whenever you're not eating and you're just depriving yourself of food, it doesn't actually feel like you're doing anything. You're just pissed off and hungry. But whenever you're actually out there sweating and, and grinding and jumping and your boobs are flying and the sweat's pissing off you and your body's sore, you're like, yeah, this must really be working because I can really feel it. But whenever you're sitting there starving, right, and depressed, and you can't drink to cheer yourself up, and there's no cake on the menu, and you're just looking at another bowl of broccoli, like there's just no joy in that, and it doesn't even feel hard. We don't equate that hunger feeling in our stomach with it being hard, but we equate the soreness in our muscles from being hard. So we always choose our hard, but choosing the hard of exercise is actually easier than choosing the hard of hunger. So I would just love if everybody chose the heart of hunger rather than the heart of exercise, because the hunger or the food plan is actually what gets you the best results. 80% of your results come from the food plan. 80%. I would even say 90% come from the food plan. People are shocked by how little calories they burn whenever they're actually doing the workouts. It's so minimal. You can eat the calories that you burned in one of those cardio workouts in 2 tablespoons of olive oil. You can overeat peanut butter by just a little tiny bit, and you will cancel out all of those calories you burned in cardio. It is shocking, absolutely shocking. We just don't realize how much we sabotage ourselves with the food. So, but yes, Michelle, I would say stay consistent, right? Stay consistent and keep going. And watch your food intake, because that is where the magic truly lies. Okay, let's see what we have going on here. Jessica is asking, from next week, will you have the live Zoom only with you on Tuesdays, and will you and Dr. Rachel be the only ones left answering our questions here? So all of the coaches are still coaching, apart from Vanessa. Vanessa has decided to go her own way, which with full love and support of me, we're still BFFs. So Vanessa is not coaching for the company at all anymore. I think she's focusing on her handstands, on her flexibility stuff, which is phenomenal because that's what she's really, really into. Dr. Rachel is still coaching. She has her Ask a Doctor forum in the app. She's just not doing live Zoom calls anymore. And Laura, as you know, is blooming and pregnant. And Laura is so funny. Laura's leaving. In fact, Laura has left, right? No one actually knows this. Laura actually officially left the company back in April. But none of you knew because she hasn't really left, right? She still comes into work every day. And she's like this. So we kind of decided that this Friday was her official date that I was kicking her out. And so then today she came in, I was like, morning, we're having a wee chat in the office. The two of us looked at each other and we got all teary. And she was like, I thought I might still come in like a day next week and work in the office if you don't mind, and maybe use the recording studio. I was like, great. And there she is, just laughing. I'll mute you, Laura. I'm just telling them that Laura is the most unleft left person you'll ever meet in your entire life.
we keep planning ways that we can keep working together.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And then I was, well, maybe after the baby's born, we can do something together again. And then she was like, do you want me to cover your call whenever you're in London on Tuesday? I was like, you're supposed to have left. She was like, I know. So yeah, the most left person you'll ever meet. I don't think Laura will ever leave, really. We're like family. Laura and I are like sisters. So we're inextricably linked. And I don't think anything will ever unlink us. So Laura's going to be covering my calls, probably with a baby at some point, on her shoulder. She'll still cover my calls for me. She's still going to be in the groups. She's kind of left, but not really left. She's starting her own Fit Pregnant Chick. So make sure you go follow her, everybody, and tell all your pregnant friends. And I'm going to help her build her business because that's what we do around here. So we're all excited about at the minute about, I love building businesses, about getting her website together and getting all her, Instagram stuff done. And she's recording in the studio and wearing all my clothes. So you probably see like a lot of my outfits on Laura, which is great. So yes, but to answer your question, Laura's still going to be here in the background, just like part of the family. But the coaches aren't going to be doing any Zoom coaching anymore. Why? A lot of people are asking why. The answer, honestly, is that I'm taking the company in a whole new direction. I don't even 100% know what that direction is. I'm actually working it out at the minute. I was having a very important business meeting in London last week, and I have an investor coming over from London here next week to meet with me. So I think I'm actually going to take the company on a very, very fast trajectory with investors. I can't give you a lot of data as to where or how that is going to look at the minute, but I need to make big changes to the entire company structure. And so that's what I've done. I've actually changed the entire company structure from the inside out. And that's why the coaches are no longer coaching anymore, because of the new direction that the company is going in. I can't really give you any more data than that at the minute, but let's just say every single thing within the company has changed. Every single thing. Everyone has changed. I have staff have moved on through mutual agreement, and I've changed the entire internal workings of the company over from what it was into a new company, which is why we did that big sale. There's a lot of changes. I will keep you guys abreast of the changes and let you know what they are as they happen. But the reason why I wanted to do this Zoom coaching moving forward is because I really want to be deeply connected to each of you, and I really want to be at the forefront of the growth of the company again. And I really missed doing the coaching. I think what happened as well was I became, as the company grew and grew and grew, I became more like a CEO. I had no time to coach. You notice I didn't do the podcast for years. I had no time to coach. I had no time to do the podcast. I had no time to record any workouts. I spent my entire life just running the company, and it wasn't fun, and it was so stressful. And the last 2 years of my life, I've just lived with this constant feeling of anxiety. And it's so weird at the minute with this entire massive shift I've made in the company structure in this last 2 weeks. I finally feel this week, it was about a month ago, actually, about 3 weeks ago, I made the shift, made the decision to make a lot of changes. And in the last 3 weeks, I would say this is the first week that I finally have stopped feeling anxious every single day, like anxious about the payroll, anxious about where the money's coming from, anxious about like the cost of running the company had ballooned to about 150 grand a month. And see, trying to find 150,000 a month to pay your staff and pay your wages and pay your costs, it was breaking me, which is why we were doing like so many different programs and so many different things or whatever, because the costs had just spiraled out of control. And so I had to literally just pull everything back, and go in a new direction, which is what I've done. So that's why no more coaching. That's why you have me. I don't wake up every morning with anxiety. I spend so much more time with my family and at home. I'm really being very careful about the strategic direction of the company. I'm being very thoughtful about it. We're making a 3-year plan, and I'm going to take you guys with me as soon as I can. As soon as I can share with you what's going on, I will be 100%. I'll probably do a podcast on it, actually, and at some point you'll probably hear the full story of what happened, or the decisions that I made, because I probably will share it all in the podcast. But until then, just know that you've got more Kim And surely that's always a good thing, right? Let me get through the rest of these questions. And you can see how much I love doing these. Like, I so missed doing this, but they were always such a chore before because I was always so busy. It just was like one more thing that I had to do. Amber, if we're following the suggested macros for weight loss, and my goal is to be, somebody's ringing me from Houston, Texas, and my goal weight is set to be hit for next summer, does this mean we should never change our macros for the whole year? What if we want to have a cheat meal once a week, like we do on some of your programs? How do we accommodate that? Should I reduce my calories to 1,300 a day to give myself a 700 calorie cheat meal once a week? No, Amber, no. So Amber, if your goal, don't set a goal for next year, set a goal for like in like 3 months, set a 12-week goal, okay? Or if that's too far away, set like an 8-week goal. So set an 8-week goal and work towards that 8-week goal, and then see how close you were or how far away you were. So let's say you decide that you want to lose 8 pounds in 8 weeks. Set your calories on the macro calculator in the app to lose 8 pounds in 8 weeks, right? And do that for 8 weeks, and then see where you are in 8 weeks. Then take a week off, rebalance, regroup, re-eat, reset your metabolism, and then set another 8-week goal. So you never want to set it for like next year. You want to set your goals like 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks away. You work towards that goal, and then you might have to back off, eat more, train less, reset your metabolism, and then go again if fat loss is your goal. If body composition and muscle building is your goal, well then that's gonna look slightly different. So I don't have time to go into the whole thing here, but what I would suggest is decide on what your goal is and then make a post in the app and tell me what it is, okay? So decide on what your goal is, what would be your 8-week goal? What's your overall goal, first of all? Where are you now in terms of weight, body composition, calories, training, all that kind of stuff? And what is your body goal in a year? And then we can help you devise your plan or work backwards from there, because you have to set shorter term goals and then reevaluate once you've got to the end of that short term goal to make a plan for the next 8 weeks, because it could be that you lose far more weight. Let's say you did start in 1,400 calories and you end up losing 12 pounds in the next 8 weeks. You're like, oh, wow, well, I didn't mean to lose 12 pounds, but that's great that I did. But maybe I can eat a little more. Maybe I can eat 15 or 1,600 calories and, lose the pound a week. Maybe I was too severe a calorie deficit. But at the minute, you can only make a hypothesis. You can't make a plan because you don't know how your body's going to respond to the plan until you start the plan. So set an 8-week plan, set a long-term goal, and then set an 8-week plan, and then we can help you work from there. Marie O'Neill, oh no, I've already answered that about she was asking about the Streams leg strap. She's saying, do you ever get pain when you're wearing it? I got a wrist one on my right wrist and elbow, and it did the job until last night when my elbow started shouting. Do you think I should only wear it during the day? No, you're supposed to wear it during the night, Marie. So the magnetic bracelets, you're supposed to wear them at least 8 hours, mostly during the night, but I just used to wear mine 24 hours a day. I wouldn't think that the pain in your elbow was related to the magnets. No, I wouldn't think so. Carrie Hill, what's your secret to taking weekly photos? I got a tripod, but I find it gives me a distorted view. Now I balance it on the couch. So here's what I do, right? I put it on the window ledge. So all my window ledges have these little ledges here. So this is what I do. I put it here. I put it on camera like this. And I turn it this way. And then I put it on a timer. So I don't know where the timer is. I think it's there. There's the timer there. So this is what I do. Timer, 10 seconds, right? Set it like this, and then I go, can you guys see this? Yeah, and then I go like this, and I walk back, and I, make sure I'm in frame. Then I do this, click, and then the timer here is 7, 6, and I get myself into position, and then and I stand like this, and it takes a whole host of photos, and then I go in, and I check the photos. And it takes like a whole squad of them. So all photos, here we go, down. So it takes a burst of photos. Oh, I don't know where the burst is now. Oh, there, burst. So it takes like a burst of photos. So you can like get wee micro photos, it takes like a burst of photos. That's what I do for my photos. I just balance it on the window ledge and then take it, and then I do the same thing again. And I set on the window ledge, and then I turn sideways, and I look at it 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and then I turn around the back and I check that, you know, my butt's in and my legs are in. I do the same on the back, and then I do the same on the front. Just balance it somewhere a little in front of you at about hip height. Take your photos. That's it. I don't know. Works for me. I like to do it in front of a window because then you get the good light. Depends on your house, though, I guess. Okay. Last question, Krista. I'm 61 and about 10 to 12 pounds from my goal weight. Would you suggest staying on 1,200 calories and 40-30-30 until I reach it? I enjoy strength training and I've been doing it for many years, and outdoor road cycling. Food tends to be a challenge, but it's getting better. I'm good at meal prep and group accountability really helps. So Krista, if you're saying that it's hard for you to stay on the 1,200 calories, I wouldn't stay on the 1,200 calories. You know, that's one of the things, you know, you have to know what's hard for you. And if the food is the hardest part for you, then I would consider not staying on the 1,200 calories, especially. And the other thing is, after this challenge is over, everyone thinks that they're going to be so made of it. They're, I'm going to stay on the 1,200 calories. I'm just going to, you know, keep this going. And then after the challenge is over, it's natural for you to want to change. And so people think they're going to stay on the 1,200 calories and they start overeating, and then they fall off the wagon, and then they don't, and then they feel bad about themselves and they beat themselves up, and the whole thing just goes to shit. So I wouldn't recommend that anyone stays on the 1,200 calories after this challenge is finished. I think you should take a few days off. You should eat whatever you want. You should have a big binge if you want it. You should eat all the food you've been missing. You should have so much fun, and then get on the next challenge, which is called Fierce, which I'm currently recording for you all at the minute. And we're going to open it on Monday. I'll only have 1 week recorded on Monday, but I'm going to keep recording them so they open. It's a 4-week challenge, no cash involved, unfortunately. The only prize you're going to have is a really good body. We're not providing a meal plan with it. It's just a workout challenge. But yeah, you know, I'm obviously going to be doing weekly coaching. But what I want everyone to do is, rather than crashing and burning after this challenge, I want you to move into something. So I want you to kind of just figure out your macros, figure out your food, you know, keep healthy eating after this challenge. And if you can do anything, just keep maintaining the training. So the new Fierce challenge is going to have 4 days of strength and 1 day of HIIT. So it's going to be legs, upper body, glutes, full body, and then a HIIT session on a Friday. So you do 5 sessions in 7. So it doesn't really matter when you do them. 5 sessions in a week. And if you want to add in extra cardio, you can. This is your 4-week maintenance plan for you to reset, get going again, reevaluate, stay on the healthy eating, stay on the workout plan so you don't fall off and put all the weight back on. So I would kind of just allow yourself a couple of weeks grace to kind of reevaluate, eat a little bit more, you know, reassess, decide where you are, decide where you want to go, and then you can work out your TDE, work out your meal plan, work out where you're going to go with your calories, and set your next goal. So the thing that I want to leave you all with is that you have to have a goal. You have to know where you're going. There's a lot of questions about what's this, should I do with this, and what's best for this, and what's best for this. But you have to remember that your long-term goals should be broken up into a series of shorter term goals. So you have to set your next 4-week goal, your next 8-week goal, your next 12-week goal. You know, what would make me happy in 12 weeks? If I took, say, a couple of weeks off and just did the Fierce series with Kim, and then let's say 2 weeks later decided, okay, I'm going to get back on the food plan again. Well, what's your 8-week goal then? What's your 4-week goal then, right? How many more pounds would you like to lose in another 4 weeks, or another 8 weeks, or another 12 weeks? And then you tailor your goal for that. So rather than making it this one big long goal or this like ultimate body goal, break it up into smaller chunks. And remember that this is a journey, you know, you're on this journey. And I can tell you as well, just one more thing to leave you with. See, when you reach this incredible shit hot body that you guys are all working towards, nothing changes. You don't feel any happier. I have to tell you, you really don't. You do feel like momentarily happier as you look in the mirror and you go, oh, wow, I have abs. Great. Or wow, I have really nice shoulders. Or, oh, my legs are smaller, which they are because I'm not training legs, you know, insanely hard the way I used to, which is good. I want smaller legs. I actually want a leaner physique now that I'm getting older. And that seems to be what women want as well. Women look at me and go, I don't look like her. She's a big, massive bodybuilder. And so I want to appeal to more women now. So I want to have the kind of figure that women want to have. but it doesn't make you any happier. Really doesn't. So all of the success and all of the happiness is in the journey. It's not in the destination, as Ben Sweetland once very said, very wise philosopher. And so set short-term goals and enjoy working towards them. Enjoy seeing what your body can do. Enjoy the progress, and then just reevaluate at the end of each goal period. Decide how you did and keep moving forward. We're going to keep having challenges and stuff in the app though, and we're going to keep doing cash challenges. Going to keep doing these mini challenges, just constant challenges, just to keep you moving forward, to make sure you always have a plan and you always have somewhere to go. Okay. This was great. Love having you all here. Thank you so much for being here. Sorry we didn't have a chat in person with anybody. I just had far too much fun answering all your questions. Hopefully you didn't mind. Thank you, Laura, for being here. And I hope you've enjoyed your not last week. Laura's leaving on Friday, but she's going to be doing my Q&A on Tuesday when I'm away.
Yes, see you next week.
Yeah, so Laura's going to be doing the Q&A next Tuesday because I have this very important business meeting. And then I will be back with you all the week after that. Yes, and then unfortunately I'm away the week after that again on the 24th. July, I have so much travel in July, but we'll figure it out. You'll be me, or we'll change the day, or it'll be Laura, surprise, or it'll be something. It'll be grand. We'll love it. Okay. Laura, thanks for being here as well in the background.
You're welcome. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, love you guys. See you all. I won't see you next week. Laura will see you next week, and I'll see you all the week after that, but I'll see you all in the group. Okay. Bye, everybody. Take care.